Luffy is back. Oda finally reveals what Kizaru was going through all this time. We actually see Elbaf where someone is drinking and waiting for our Straw Hats and more, so make sure to stay tuned for this one. Channel the Pirate King within and smash that like button if you enjoy seeing One Piece videos like this one and want to keep them coming. Make this the video you join the Nakama by subscribing and hitting that notification bell so you don't miss future One Piece videos and updates. And now without further ado, let's jump into it, spoilers and all. So last chapter we had the whole Vegapunk flashback where he figured out about York and the world government and made his recording before erasing his memory. It finished off with a focus on Usopp being ecstatic as the Straw Hats and the Giants are heading to Elbaf. The Giants were celebrating with him and happy to be reuniting with old friends, but Luffy was not so happy. He said not now, later. He was in his wrinkled form still, but this chapter reveals another reason why he might not have been so happy last chapter, as we'll see. This chapter is called Best Friend, and when we get to that part in the chapter, oh boy, it's gonna be good, believe me. For our cover story, we got Ogre Child Yamato's Golden Harvest Surrogate Pilgrimage, Volume 12. Yamato rescues a woman who is about to be kidnapped. We see the kidnapper's silhouette running away, but it's very difficult to figure out who is the kidnapper with just this cover story. It's kind of funny because Oda is even cliffhangering us with the cover stories now, and this one is very similar to the ending of this chapter, as we'll see. But now readers gotta come back next week where Oda will probably not just reveal what happens next in the main story, but who this mystery cover story kidnapper is too. It's cliffhangerception, it's a little detail, but attention to detail is a big deal, and it helps show why Oda's work is so popular and keeps readers coming back decade after decade at this point. So this chapter does not start exactly where we left off with the Straw Hats and the Giants. In fact, it starts off by cutting to Big News Morgan's, Wapol, and Vivi in the World Economy newspaper's headquarters. Morgan's, not surprisingly, is excitedly preparing a headline to spread fear throughout the world. He really is like the perfect clickbait YouTuber. He's thinking of the following title: Law vs. Blackbeard, Kid vs. Red Hair, and Straw Hat murdering Vegapunk. No question marks or anything, just exclamation marks, and credit has to be given where credit's due. That is an amazing headline, and imagine you didn't know the truth of what happened like we do. Who could resist such headlines? Not me, that's for sure. But it's nice to see Vivi confront him here. She says, "You're a liar. No smart person in the world would believe your news." But the whole thing does raise the question, will people really question it that much if they have no alternative news and don't know Luffy? Probably not. Morgan's definitely has a monopoly on public opinion, so it is important how he frames events. Wapol, for his part, tries to calm Vivi down, while Morgan's is frustrated that Vivi doesn't fear his threats. He says, "I really don't care if the world sinks since my home is in the sky. Maybe it will be my era now," and then he laughs. And yeah, despite what happens to the sea level in the series, this is reminding us that there are people who will survive, and some people may thrive in that situation. Morgan's, fishermen, pirates, and perhaps a lot of humans if they successfully use Vegapunk's Cloud Island technology, as was brought up last chapter. Despite the terrible actions of the world government and their not being concerned about the rising sea level, it's nice that we have a scientist able to solve the existential issue with his intellect and inventions. Oda clearly respects human ingenuity. We then cut to Egghead Island once more, so still wrapping up some Egghead stuff, but it won't take long, and honestly, I've been hoping for something like this where Kizaru finally spills some beans, so I'm very thankful to Oda that we got it. First, we see that Sentomaru is leaving the island on a small boat and he's crying. Fleet Admiral Sakazuki tries to call the Marines in Egghead, but everyone is down and there's no answer. Finally, Admiral Kizaru gets up and picks up the call, but it's not clear if he was down too before Sakazuki's call. Either way, he's the only Marine awake at the moment. What a Marine disaster this all was when you think about it. But Kizaru's mind is on something else. Kizaru tells Sakazuki, "I will order young Marines to report everything once everyone wakes up." Sakazuki questions him further though, asking about the safety of Saturn and the power plant. He adds that Kizaru is doing a lousy job, but Kizaru is not in the mood to take this at all. He replies seriously, which you know is a big deal for Kizaru. He says, "Sakazuki, have you ever killed your best friend? I am being soft, ... Sakazuki, ... Sakazuki is starting to understand the gravity at the moment as he only gives his own in response. We then get a flashback of Kizaru and Vegapunk's friendship, including the day they first met and when Vegapunk starts building Egghead. So we were pissed that it looked like they were friends and he did this, but it's even worse in that they were best friends, and I didn't see that coming. It's a good twist because it not only makes us view past events differently, it will probably invoke pity in a lot of readers too for Kizaru, the usually stoic jokester. Me personally, I still want to know why. What is it that makes him prioritize his mission to his best friend, for instance? I want to see a flashback or something that explains why Kizaru is such a loyal admiral to the Marines. And we might actually get that bombshell information pretty soon in this chapter. Either way, this is arguably Kizaru's biggest scene to date. He shouts in tears to Sakazuki saying, "If you have the time to doubt my ability, then come and check it for yourself, you damn brat." End quote. This scene and dialogue is just brilliant. Not only does this unorthodox behavior show how affected Kizaru is by what went down, I also just love seeing him talk like this to Sakazuki. There aren't many who would do it, and it would just always be entertaining to see. And Sakazuki perhaps surprisingly shows his humanity. He's shocked to hear Kizaru's tone, but he doesn't argue or punish him, despite this coming from a subordinate. Instead, he's understanding and uncharacteristically friend-like, saying, "I'm sorry, ... brother," end quote. Kizaru though says, "Shut up, too late for that." This is honestly one of my favorite dialogue scenes. Oda did a great job with it. And another thing I like about it is, like I hoped, it does leave the possibility at least for a disillusioned Kizaru who's finally had enough to leave the Marines and who knows, maybe even join a certain food-loving, straw hat wearing guy. Clearly, he's been pushed far enough to respond in a shocking way to his superior, but Sakazuki's understanding also leads to the possibility of him staying with a remaining friend/brother who shows him understanding and respect. And I just scanned over the brother line when I read this because I'm used to it being used in conversation, like calling someone bro, but maybe it is more significant. Maybe they are brothers in one way or another, and that is why he has been so loyal to the Marines, because it's his way of being loyal to a brother. In which case, I would better understand his actions. Either way, I'm excited to see how Viz officially translates this part, because that could be a bombshell reveal that I was just about to skim over right there. After that fascinating section of the chapter, we cut to the Elbaf ship and see that the Straw Hat crew only drink a little. They call off the feast since no one is in the mood, and it's soon revealed why. Nami, Usopp, Sanji, and Chopper are taking care of Lilith on a giant sofa that makes them look like ants. Gonna be fun seeing the giant stuff gimmick when we get to Elbaf too. I'm sure it'll lead to some great, funny, and creative panels. Suddenly, Lilith wakes up, and Dr. Chopper is the first to rejoice, saying, "She's awake, I'm so glad." Nami asks if she's alright, and Sanji is quick with a "Lilith-chan" heart. Sanji's behavior never gets old, I don't care what anyone says. Lilith then looks around surprised, while she touches her earpiece. Usopp tells her that they're on the giant ship and that's why everything is huge. Then they explain what happened on Egghead. Usopp says, "It's difficult to break this to you, but you are the only Vegapunk that we managed to rescue. We are so sorry." Nami adds that it was Atlas who hit her on the head, and of course we know she did it to save her. Lilith says it's fine, she understands now. She's just been told everything. Sanji says, "Been told by whom?" But Lilith starts acting weird instead of answering and starts crying like a child. Obviously it probably has to do with the whole touching her earpiece thing. She says, "Just let me cry a bit," and then proceeds to do just that. Usopp then makes an interesting observation when he says, "What part of you is supposed to be quote-unquote evil?" Clearly there's been a change in Lilith, which will make better sense in a bit. Lilith then says she's hungry all of a sudden. Usopp is shocked at how fast her grief turned to hunger. They tell Lilith that she can eat the food that the giants prepared, and Sanji is the one who seems to figure out what's going on when he wonders if Lilith is suddenly hungry because there's no connection to York anymore. But that also raises the possibility that she'll now have the full range of emotions and traits potentially, because while she's disconnected from York, the other Vegapunks are gone too. So it'll be interesting to see how her character evolves from here. It definitely seems like it's going to be more multidimensional than before. Then we have something which is unexpectedly hilarious. Brooks says that the mood at the Giants table is a bit gloomy, and then we see a depressed Luffy eating a giant grape in a very sad manner. His thoughts are serious though. He says, "Damn it, I made a promise. I said I would save the Apple Man, but I couldn't even though I'm a Yonko." Chopper points out that Luffy is in a serious state too. He has that he is really down right now, so he has only eaten 5 clusters of grapes, which is hilariously a lot for giant grapes, isn't it? Then Lilith finally decides to help the mood and says, "I think that's enough already." I cried earlier for everyone's death, but it is only death in your guys' conception. To put it simply, all of us are still alive. We only died by your definition." End quote. So she's pretty much saying by saving her, they in a way saved all of them, because they're all one after all. They're all Vegapunk. Chopper, though, hilariously misunderstands and says, "What? Did they become ghosts?" To which Lilith responds, "What I want to say is you fulfilled our promise. So there's no need to be sad, Luffy." And she's right. He did save Vegapunk through saving Lilith. After Lilith's words, Luffy finally is back to his usual happy self. Then he comes out to the deck and jumps over to the Giant's table. "Hey," he says. Oimo asks if he's alright, and Luffy responds, "Giants, thanks a bunch for coming to help us." The Giants say, "No problem, want a party?" To which Luffy says, "Bring in the food and the booze too." Luffy is definitely starting to sound like a pirate king to me. The giant chef says, "I was hoping you'd ask. Eat to your heart's content," and Broggy laughs. If there's any place Luffy has the best chance of eating his fill, it's probably on a giant ship when you think about it with all their giant food. Usopp tells Zoro, who is on the Sunny, that Luffy is back to normal and then all the Straw Hats and Lilith join the party too. Robin is hugging Chopper like a stuffed toy, which is cute and wholesome to see. Robin reminds us of a hype reunion when she says, "If we go to Elbaf, Saul will be there." And Chopper responds that he's happy for her. The Giants then say something Vegapunk brought up in the broadcast. They say, "Vegapunk said that the world will be moved by the guy who finds the One Piece. Who do you think will be the king of the pirates?" Meanwhile, all of us fans of One Piece know how crazy it is to say such a thing in front of Luffy of all people. Predictably, Luffy replies, "Hey, why do you think I even became a pirate?" We get an epic double spread where we see the Straw Hat Pirates, Lilith, and Giant Pirates celebrating and toasting all together while Luffy replies to the Giants' question. Luffy says, "Even if you guys are gonna try to stop me," which might actually happen if you consider their allegiance to rival Shanks, but Luffy continues, "It's obvious that I will be the one who will become the king of the pirates." The narrator lets us know that the ship sails towards the northeast direction to the long-anticipated land of giants. I love how meta that is. It was definitely long anticipated by us fans for sure. And then we get a panel that actually cuts to the warland Elbaf. There's a silhouette of a person who is drinking on Elbaf's shore. The mysterious person says, "Come." The editor's message is someone is awaiting them on the island of giants. Now let me know, who do you think is the mysterious silhouette in the cover story, but also here at the end of the chapter? Obviously, I'll say the obvious. We all know someone who loves drinking and who'd have reason to be on Elbaf, but let me know what you think. Now, if you did enjoy this one and the Sakazuki and Kizaru drama in particular, you won't want to miss my video on all admirals and their powers explained. Link on screen right now. Like and subscribe for more, and I'll see you in the next one.